Hey there, it is Danielle, your Celestial Piper. If you like this video, I ask that you please hit that thumbs up down there below, so that way it helps the algorithm help my channel. Also, what helps me as well is hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Now you want to make sure that you hit the notification bell so that way you're notified of new videos. Also, I ask that you comment down below because that also helps the algorithm. So thank you. So today is Monster Monday, and we're going to be discussing the true story that inspired the movie The Exorcist. Stay tuned. The Exorcist. It's a 1973 American supernatural horror film directed by William Friedkin. It was written for the screen by William Peter Blatty, based on his 1971 novel bearing the same title. On December 26, 1973, The Exorcist, a horror film starring the actress Linda Blair, who played a girl possessed by a demon, makes its debut in theaters. It will go on to earn a reputation as one of the scariest movies in all of history. So in the film, Linda Blair played the character Regan, who's a sweet 12-year-old girl who suffers bouts of bizarre behavior. Her concerned mother, who is Ellen Burstyn, contacts a priest and he recommends an exorcism. Max von Sydow and Jason Miller played the two priests who eventually conduct the exorcism at the home where Regan is living in Georgetown section of Washington, D.C.
I'm Father Mary. Thank you. Is Father Karras here?
Yes.
Father,
Father Karras.
it's an honor to meet you, Father.
So the film was a huge box office success. It terrified audiences to the point of fainting, and in some cases with scenes in which Regan's head spins, her body levitates, and vomits green bile.
Him the dead to depart from the servant of God. It's the power. Holy water. It's the power of Christ that compels you.
What is it?
So the film was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Picture. The Exorcist will later spawn two sequels, 1971 Exorcist II, The Heretic, and then 1990 Exorcist III, which was written and directed by William Peter Blatty. He won Best Screenplay Oscar for the original movie in the series, the 2004 Exorcist, The Beginning, directed by Renny Harlin, and Dominion, the 2005 prequel to The Exorcist, helmed by Paul Schrader. Behind the horror movie is a true story of a boy possessed by a demon. In 1949, priests performed an exorcism on a boy referred to as Roland Doe, aka Ronald Hunkeler. This is a chilling ordeal that became the real-life inspiration for the film The Exorcist. In the Belnor neighborhood of St. Louis, Missouri, sits a colonial-style house on Roanoke Drive that once was the home of a boy named Roland Doe, also known as Robbie Mannheim or Ronald Hunkeler. Looking at the house, it looks like your average, beautiful colonial-style home that has a beautiful brick exterior with white shutters and surrounded by a beautifully landscaped yard. Yet, one of the most extraordinary horror stories turned urban legends in American history, transformed this house into a landmark for the macabre and provided the true story of The Exorcist. So this story begins in the 1940s. It's in suburban Washington, D.C. with a German-American family. Their 13-year-old son, believed to be named Ronald Hunkler, which later referred to under the pseudonyms of Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim, was feeling grieved and hopeless over the loss of his beloved aunt, Harriet. Harriet was a spiritualist who taught him many things, including how to use a Ouija board. Shortly after Harriet's death in early January of 1949, Ronald began to experience strange things. He was hearing scratchings both on the walls and the floor of his room. And then water dripped from pipes and walls inexplicably. So this was really disturbing for Ronald's parents, who sought the help of every expert that they could find. The family consulted with doctors, psychiatrists, and their local Lutheran minister, but they were no help. The minister suggested that the family seek the assistance of the Jesuits. So the local Catholic priest, Father E. Albert Hughes, asked his superiors permission to perform an exorcism on the boy in late February of 1949. His request was granted by the church.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Before beginning the exorcism, Hughes strapped the boy to the mattress. Just as he began to start his recitations, he had to stop the rite because the boy went and broke out a piece of mattress spring and slashed the priest across his shoulders, leaving the exorcism unfinished. So a few days later, red scratches actually started to appear on Ronald, and it formed a word, Louis, and his mother was convinced that they needed to move to St. Louis, where they had relatives, in hopes to save their son. The cousin of the family, who attended St. Louis University, put the Hunklers in touch with Father Walter H. Halloran and Reverend William Bodern. These two Jesuits, after consulting with the university's president, agreed to perform an exorcism on Ronald with the help of several assistants. In early March of 1949, the men gathered at the residence on Roanoke Drive. The exorcist witnessed scratching on the boy's body and the mattress moving violently. So this is very similar to what had happened when the first exorcism was being performed in Maryland and had failed. During the craziness, Bodern and Halloran, straight from their reports actually, noticed a pattern in Ronald's behavior. During the day, he was calm and your typical normal boy. But as soon as the night came around and he was getting settled into bed, he would exhibit strange behavior, which included wild outbursts of screaming.
Please! Please!
What is it? What's happening?
Stop! It's burning! It's burning!
Do something, Doctor. Please help her.
Please, Mother! We'll make it stop! He's trying to kill me! Mother! Make it...
All right, let's see what to do.
Keep away! This hour is mine.
Ronald would also enter a trance-like state and made a guttural sound with his voice.
The dead to depart from the servant of God.
Anytime the Jesuits would present in front of the boy sacred objects, things would mysteriously start flying around the room. All of these details were presented in the movie The Exorcist, but there were more that didn't.
The power of Christ compels you.
At one point, Bo Dern saw an X appear on Ronald's chest, like in scratches. And the priest believed that it was signifying the Roman numeral for the number 10. In another incident, a pitchfork-like shaped pattern started to, it was like red lines, started to go all the way down from his thigh to his ankle. And these type of things happened every night for a month. I can't even imagine. The priest believed that Ronald was possessed by 10 demons because of that X that appeared on his chest. These two priests never gave up on Ronald. They continued the exorcism night after night. On the evening of March 20th, the exorcism reached an unhealthy new level. Ronald started to urinate all over his bed and began shouting and cursing at the priests. Ronald's parents had enough. They took their son, to Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis for more serious treatment. They shouted at Satan, threatened that St. Michael would battle for Ronald's soul. Well, 7 minutes, interestingly enough, and I say that because the number 7 means completeness, Ronald came out of the trance that he was in and said, he's gone. And the boy claimed he had a vision of St. Michael on a great battlefield vanquishing Satan. So the strange occurrences and behavior ceased after that, according to Bo Dern and Halloran. Ronald Hunkeler went on to live a normal life from that moment on. The true story of The Exorcist that inspired the film The Exorcist may have never been known had it not been reported on August of 1949 in the Washington Post that priest had conducted an exorcism. And the article didn't even give much detail. It actually just basically said an exorcism was performed. It never gave a name, whether it was Roland Doe, Robbie Mannheim, or Ronald Hunkeler, which is probably why we really don't know for sure what his name was for real. In 1971, William Peter Blatty wrote the best-selling novel, The Exorcist, and it was based on unofficial diaries that was kept by the two priests, Halloran and Bo Dern. The book stayed on the bestseller list for 54 weeks and spawned the hit movie in 1973. Obviously, the film took on many liberties with its source material, turning teenage Ronald into 12-year-old little girl named Regan. Although the scratches, shouting, spitting, and cursing in the movie mimics what Ronald experienced, it is safe to say the boy's head never turned 360 degrees like Regan's did. Also, Ronald never vomited pea soup during his many tantrums. So Roland Doe later found a wife and started a family. He named his first son Michael after Saint Michael, the archangel, that he claimed saved his soul. He'd be probably in his 80s today if he were still alive. The Jesuit priest, William Bo Dern, died in 1983 after serving the Catholic Church for decades. Walter Halloran lived until 2005 and died of cancer. He was the last serving member of the main team that performed the exorcism of Roland Doe. After the exorcism in St. Louis at Alexian Brothers Hospital, the room was boarded up and sealed. Later in 1978, they tore the entire building down. The house where Ronald's family lived now is an empty lot after being abandoned in the 1960s. So you might be wondering about that cute little colonial style house on Roanoke Drive that Roland Doe lived in. Well, they had new owners in 2005 who purchased it for $165,000. And I guess it's safe to say they're not freaked out that Satan could be possibly living in one of the rooms of this house. So I chose today's topic because I work for a local haunt called the 13th Acre at All Shucks Farm in Monroe, North Carolina. I am their prop designer, their makeup artist, one of them, and the scare actor. So, as you can see in these pictures, these are my characters. I will be going as the Jackal from 13 Coast, and will be debuting Regan from The Exorcist.